Every day in the USA, people find themselves in court.
All right, this is Grandma versus Grandma. We have an emergency motion for parenting time pending motion to adopt a parenting plan, a motion to compel, another motion to quash, and a motion to enlarge the number of days for discovery requests. Enlarge the number of discovery requests. All right, the first motion I have is an emergency motion for parenting time pending light that's been filed by the plaintiff in the case. So Ms. Hendricks, you represent the plaintiff. Ms. Hendrickson, you represent the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, either side wish to make an opening statement?
So the parties have married in 2020, about 3 years ago. It's a fairly short marriage. They have a 3-year-old minor son named Pearson. Mother left the marital home back in May, early in May, and upon her vacating that home, she had refused visitation to the father, and that prompted my client, Mr. Brian Graham, to file this divorce action. Contemporaneous to our divorce complaint, we also filed this emergency motion for temporary visitation. Mr. Reese was not involved yet. So whenever Mr. Reese was hired, he asked for a continuance, and then in the interim, we agreed, and only because mother would only agree to supervised visits. And at that point, it would have been about 3 weeks of no contact with the son. So he reluctantly agreed on the supervised visitations. The mother was free to give whoever the supervisor she wanted, and the agreement was they were going to act in good faith to agree on when, how long, and all those things. And we agreed it is going to be at the church. Unfortunately, from the time that we entered into that agreement, mother obviously, she has not been acting in good faith. My client has only seen this child supervised visitation with her supervisors, and we even agreed that she can change the supervisor if her original supervisors were not available, so that she can accommodate the schedule. My client has only seen this child, Your Honor, maximum 4 hours, once or twice a week. And proof will show that my client has even sent a request to the mother allowing him to join this third-year medical appointment because it was pretty big to him. And mother refused that. And it's very clear that mother's goal is to basically alienate father from this child. She has voiced concerns, and my client, proof will show that he bent over backwards trying to alleviate this concern, such as anger issues. Proof will show that my client voluntarily enrolled with Main Street. He has completed the program for anger management. We'll have a certificate of that. He has completed a course with CPR, completed a course with anger management class in his own company, completed a class for safety driving because mother has some issues with that as well, completed a class for gun safety because she has issues with that as well. And so at this point, Your Honor, we are asking that father should be the primary residential parent because mother clearly does not want to involve the father in his life. My client will be agreeable to allowing the mother to have them co-parent this child. I'm not sure that mother is going to be doing that moving forward. Both are in their 20s. They're in the younger range, and Unfortunately, mother's parents are also condoning this behavior. And so we don't have really good advisors for mother. And so that's what we were asking. The original parenting plan that we submitted, we were asking for a 1 week on, 1 week off. However, upon further discussion, we think that it'll be best for the child to have 4 and 3 alternate. So that way he's not, he's not away from the mother for a very long time. That's all, Your Honor.
Mr. Hawley, wish to make an opening statement?
Yes. Well, first, Judge, there's not been a parenting plan that I saw that was filed on behalf of Mr. Grammon. I didn't know what they were technically asking for. There wasn't a motion for emergency visitation, which we answered. And we talked about it, went through things. I shared at that point discovery in full with his lawyer, some video, audio recordings of things, and we agreed to the supervised visitation at that point. That's the order that we've been following. There's an agreed order down that spells that out, that should be in the court's file. We've followed that order until we get to court and the court makes another decision, if the court's going to make another decision. I filed a motion to adopt a parenting plan. I did file a parenting plan on behalf of the child. This child's not 3, this child is 2 years old. The birthday is 21, August 21, and just barely at a 2-year-old mark. The agreed order that I'm talking about was filed July 6, 2023.
I have it.
Okay. And that specifically says we're going to be at the Alexandria Church of Christ for the visitation supervised by Jeff and/or Bobby Ford. And that's exactly what we've been doing. I suspect he's got some type of license now. At the time, Mr. Grammon didn't have a driver's license. There was a lot of issues with his prior driving history and things of that nature. He hails from New York, and I think they were suspended there. I think he's gone now and said that he'll set up some type of payment plan, and they've given him the usual restricted license, is what I'm hearing. Maybe you can produce that today. We've been over backwards to try to accommodate Mr. Grammon based on that's our position, and her parents as well, based on, his prior conduct, his driving record, his ability to be a parent with his child, his previous alcohol usage, drug usage, those types of things. Have been an issue. You're going to hear today that, part of his anger management issues, he randomly went to go attack somebody at a dollar store, an older lady. Talks about it on the recording, everything that he did. He was quite proud of it. That type of conduct. And that's why I filed a motion after I heard this for a mental evaluation. I think it may help Mr. Grammon to receive that and to work on a few things. These tapes are definitely going to corroborate the concerns of Ms. Grammon as well as her family. And I'm one of the ones that always say, give them some visitation, at least every other weekend. But in this situation, I couldn't argue with them. I said, y'all, if this is what we're going to do, this is a position we're going to take. I can't very well say, okay, and then something happened to this 2-year-old, and it'd be my responsibility for talking them into something. So that's where I'm at with Mrs. Grammon. I think she's done everything in the world to try to accommodate this man based on his prior conduct and whatnot, and the court can make a determination as to what visitation he may be allowed at this point. I think my client will be as the status quo caregiver. She has done the caregiving for this child, consistently done the caregiving for this child when they were together, and she still does. And we're asking for the status quo to her be the primary parent and the court to entertain, based on the evidence, some type of guidance for us as far as some sort of visitation for Mr. Grammon.
All right, Ms. Hendrickson, you may call your first witness.
I would like to call Ms. Tony Grammon. Tony Grammon, the wife, mother.
If you follow him.
Grammon, if you'll come up, please.
Mrs. Grammon, can you provide your full name for the record, please?
Tony Marie Gramman.
Okay. And I stand corrected, Your Honor. The child is 2 years old, not 3 years old. Okay, so you have a minor child with Brian. I'm gonna refer to him as Brian because you're both Grammans,
That's
okay?
fine, yes.
Okay, so he's 2 years old, correct? Where do you currently reside?
With my parents.
Okay.
Geraldtown Road. Town Road, Watertown.
Have you been residing there since you left your home that you shared with Brian?
Yes,
Okay. Do you recall when was that date when you left the home?
May 20 something, I can't remember.
Around the end of May?
Yes, the end of May.
Okay. And are you working currently?
I am, yes.
Where are you working?
I work at this retirement home. It's called Harmony in Mount Juliet. I am a cleaner, and then I also have my own cleaning business. I work with about 4 clients, just kind of on and off
Okay.
every other week. So,
What are your hours with, did you say Harmony?
yes.
What are your hours there?
They just kind of work with my schedule since I watch Pearson whenever I'm not working, and then my mother watches him because she's also a house cleaner. She's very busy. She has a lot of houses that she cleans, so whenever she is available to watch him, that's when I work. So normally that's 2 to 3 days a week that I work there.
And would that be during the week, Monday to Friday, or would that include the weekend?
It includes the weekend.
Okay, so you would work during the weekends too?
Yes,
But you don't, did you say you don't have a specific days of the week that you work?
I always work Saturday for them. My schedule just kind of rotates
Okay.
throughout the weekdays.
Okay, so you work Saturdays, and I think we have text messaging with you saying that. So why is it an issue for Brian to not have visitation when you're working?
He does have visitation while I am working. That's the days that they get to visit.
Okay, well, I do have text messaging here, which I will get to that later on. Okay, so the other job that you said you own a cleaning business?
Yes.
Okay, and what's your schedule there?
I actually have my agenda book if you would like to look at it. Again, it's like with one client, I clean her once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Another client is once a week, and 2 other clients are once a month.
Do they fall on the same days of the week?
I try to make them like that. It's a little easier on me to do that.
Okay, so on average per week, you're working about 4 or 5 days. That would include the Harmony and your own business.
No, 3 or 4.
3 or 4 times a
Maybe.
week. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it just changes. It's a little unpredictable.
So your schedule is more flexible.
It is.
Okay. How much do you make a month on each of your jobs?
I would have to look at that. I have that written down somewhere. I can't remember.
Do you have
off
an
it.
hourly rate on the Harmony?
I do. It's $14 an hour, and then each house I make $50 to $80 a house.
Okay. And you said you have that because we haven't received any documentation in response to
I
the
have. I
discovery.
printed off stuff yesterday.
Okay, so
so I
your
can-
lawyer will have that. Okay, yes, I'll ask that from him. Okay, the cleaning job, is that you get paid just cash or Venmo or something like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
everything is recorded, and then one lady, she pays me by check.
Okay, so you would have documentation on the income on both? 'Cause
I do.
The Harmony, you'll have your paycheck.
Yes,
that
it's
right?
it's direct deposit, but I do have that ADP app on my
Okay.
phone.
Okay.
So
All right. Have you cleaned, do you recall Mr. George Grun? He's got a
yes,
business or a residence. Is it in Nashville?
it is.
Okay. Did he have exotic animals there inside the house?
Yes,
Did you clean that house?
I haven't cleaned his house. My mother cleans his house, and we also would clean their business
Okay.
in Nashville. So he's a guitar. It's a guitar store, and then in
right,
his personal office, he has snakes in his office, which are all contained, and a
Okay.
cat.
And a cat. Okay,
a
so you
cat.
got snakes that are contained in a cat.
And a turtle.
And a what now?
A turtle.
A turtle. Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't it
Wait,
true
wait,
that
wait, wait. What now? A turtle?
A turtle. He does have a turtle.
he's got
A big
exotic
turtle,
animals?
Little turtle?
It's a little turtle. It's like a box turtle. I can roughly say he probably has about 15 snakes in his office, and a turtle, and a cat. It's interesting, to say the least.
When you clean the house, were you with your mother when you cleaned the house?
I never cleaned their house.
I'm sorry, the office.
Yes.
Is the office? Did he have exotic animals in there?
Yes, all the ones that I told you,
Okay,
they
there
are in
about 15 of them. Okay.
roughly. I didn't
Alright.
really count, but
Okay. So was it just you or were you with your mom when you
I was with my mom.
With your-
It's a
okay.
big place. It's kind of hard to tackle
by yourself?
by yourself, and it's in Nashville. I don't want to go to Nashville alone.
Okay.
You know.
And isn't it true that you would have Pearson with you when you're cleaning the house? I mean, the office?
Yes, because he refused to watch him for me.
Okay. Well, isn't it true that when Brian found out about it, he told you to stop that because it's just not safe for him? You recall that conversation?
No,
Okay. How many times did you bring Pearson with you to that
there.
office?
Well, I was cleaning. We had a schedule. We did it every Sunday. And Brian was very strict on me making a certain amount of money to provide for us.
Mhm.
I had to make $800 a month, and I had to bring Pearson with me. I didn't, because I was cleaning with my mother. I couldn't afford to put Pearson in daycare, nor did I want to, because he was young, and you only get that time with a young child once.
Okay.
And
Yeah, that's fair. So did you say that you were required to make $800 a month?
yes, I had to pay certain bills. I had to pay his phone bill. I had to pay a loan that we took out in my name, and there were other things that I had to pay for as well. And I didn't really understand why I had to pay for all that I did pay for, because Brian made pretty good money, and he always had money left over. And he spent the money on a lift kit, on tires, on parts for this Corvette that's old and broken down, and it was a project car.
I'm just gonna stop you there because I only asked.
She called the witness, she asked the question, my client ought to be able to answer it.
It was just
Well, the
going
answer-
beyond the scope of what I asked, Your Honor.
I agree with Ms. Hendrickson. The question needs to be responsive. You'll have an opportunity through your lawyer to bring out whatever you want to bring out about the situation, but you must answer the questions she asked you as succinctly as possible so that we can move forward, okay?
I apologize.
Overrule the objection.
Did Brian specifically told you that you had to make $800 a month?
He specifically told me I had certain bills that had to be paid for, which equaled out to $800 a month.
Okay. Was he working at the time too? You said that he was working, right?
Yes, he was working.
Okay. He was working how many hours a week? Do you recall?
I guess they were 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Okay. Now, let me take you back in May when you left. What prompted you to leave?
His manic episodes of outburst of anger.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to the word manic because she's not an expert.
I think that's a commonly used term to describe, it is not a professional medical diagnosis, but rather a common term that people use frequently. So overrule your objection. She can answer it in layman's terms, but you can give a description of what you observed. And however you characterize it, I'm not accepting that as a medical diagnosis. I'm rather allowing you to describe it in layman's terms. Overrule your objection.
You can go on,
Um,
unless you're done with your answer.
No, he was just very angry all the time. He would come in from work, and about the last 2 months we were together, he was driving home drunk. He was drinking while driving, and he was proud of it. He'd come in, yeah, with one of them really tall beers. He'd say, I drank about half of this on the way over here today. I said, you don't need to be drinking and driving. You really shouldn't be driving in the first place. You don't have a license, but we have bills to be paid.
So you're now telling me that you told him he shouldn't be driving, but prior to that, y'all bought cars, put the title of those cars in your name, correct? Everything's in your name, correct?
Everything is in my name.
Okay, and you have all been driving, being driven by Brian, and you were allowing him to do that with the child
I didn't
in there.
necessarily allow it. It was something that he made us do.
Did you get in the car with him?
Yes.
Did he force you? Did he take you and put you in the car? Or did you willingly go into the car every time you all had an outing when he was driving?
If I did not, he would freak out on me.
Okay. Are you, did you insure all the vehicles that you bought?
Yes, I did.
And you knew that he didn't have a good driver's license, correct?
I told him, begged him, since we got together, and he promised he'd get a license, and he never did. And every time I'd bring it up, I'd say, you need to get a license. We're married. Now we're having a baby. We have a baby. Why do you not have a driver's license? He's throwing out money on other things, and he'd just tell me, shut up.
Okay. Now, in your interrogatories, and I'm gonna pass this document, may I approach you?
You may.
I see what you're,
Her answer today.
all of the answers, okay.
If you can flip over to the second to the last page.
The one with the stamp on it.
Is that your signature? I just want to make sure that you
Yes, that's
confirmed. Okay, all right. If you will go to page, and this is a copy for your honor. Thank you. Page 3, number 15. The question there, and you don't have the question, you just have your answers. Number 15, please set forth your preference as to how the child should be shared between the parents by providing your proposed permanent parenting plan. You answered, see parenting plan attached to counter petition. I wish to have full custody of Pearson with no visitations from Brian Graham. Is that still your position today? You do not want Brian to have any visitations?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Can you give me, let's say, top 5 concerns that you have? That would be the basis of your reasons for not wanting Brian to have 0 visitation, basically terminating his parental rights.
Well, the first would be his anger. It is, I can never see it coming, and it's so just all the time. His foul mouth, it's horrible. His racial slurs towards all people groups. His drug abuse.
Okay.
That was a bit, he was high all the time, and then you add drinking on top of being high. That was never good. He would even pass out for hours at a time after he would come home from work, to where I couldn't even wake him up.
Okay.
It would be 3 to 4 hours. There was no way I could get him to wake up. How many was that?
Also, you have anger, foul mouth, drug abuse, drinking, passing out.
His mindset is very questionable. He is narcissistic. And as I stated in here, his lack of empathy. He's very self-centered. He never helped me with Pearson. Pearson was always an object of looking good to others, as I once was to him. I don't want Pearson subjected to that mindset and just how he is. I begged and begged the whole time we were together just to be a father, and he'd look at me and said, every week he'd say, I'm a man. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want.
Okay. Do you have any more additions to that?
I think that vaguely,
Encompasses everything.
yes.
Okay, so I have anger, foul mouth, drug abuse, drinking, with a passing out situation, mindset is questionable, and then he's never helped with Pearson. Okay, so the anger issue, did your attorney provided you a copy of that certificate from Main Street where he attended the full program?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think about that? Does that mean anything to you?
He went to therapy his whole life growing up. These anger issues are not a new occurrence. The people who raised him, his aunt and uncle, especially his aunt, told me quite a bit of how he was raised and the things that he did. These are behaviors that are not going to change with sitting through an anger management class. It's going to be a total change of heart, and honestly, the Lord is just going to have to grab a hold of him.
Okay, so basically you think he's hopeless.
Yes.
Okay.
Sadly.
Nothing that he does is ever gonna change your mind, basically, because he's just at
If
the
he
very
changes,
bottom.
well, if he changes one day in which I really do pray for, I just don't see it happening. I
Okay.
begged for years for him to just
Okay.
be the man we needed.
And so he
just did
cannot
not
see
care.
the child because of that. Okay, now foul mouth. Would you agree with me that you have also used foul language in front of the child?
Yes, not to the extent of what he is saying. He is
Okay.
saying things I've never heard before in my life.
Okay, so but you've used foul language in front of the child as well. Correct?
Unintentionally. If I stub my toe, drop something, I'll run into a door frame.
Okay,
It
so
does
you have
slip.
not, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I said it has slipped. I run into something.
Okay,
Ouch.
you've not directed it to your child?
No,
At
I
any
try
point in
to
time?
watch my mouth around him because a child is going to pick up anything that you say.
That's right, okay. So if I have several witnesses that will testify, even Brian's grandparents will testify that they have heard you, and I'm not saying Brian didn't do it, okay? He's not denying that. But what I'm saying is, we do have witnesses who will testify, they have heard you direct this foul language to the child. Would they be lying?
Directing it at Pearson, I would, yeah, that is lying.
Okay, all
Yes.
right, okay. And so this foul mouth, are you saying that it's directed by Brian? Was it directed to you?
Yes, it
Okay.
was directed to me. He called me very horrible names in which I will not say in this courtroom,
Okay.
unless
Did
if
he-
y'all want to hear them, but they're pretty
No, I'm not
ugly.
asking for those. Did he use any foul language whenever he's addressing Pearson?
He's addressing Pearson. I guess not addressing him, but it didn't matter if I was holding Pearson and Brian's in my face hollering at me and calling me names. It didn't didn't matter if Pearson was in the room or not. He's going to
Okay,
say
I'm just
what he
asking,
wants.
has he, when he's dealing with Pearson, talking
Yes.
to Pearson, trying to play with him, has
Mhm.
he talked to Pearson where there was foul language included
Actually,
in the
yes.
conversation?
Mhm. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
do you recall when was that?
It was a few times. I don't remember the specific date, but he would say things along the lines, if you don't start listening, I'm going to beat your ass.
Okay. How old was Pearson?
14 months old.
Were there other people around when that happened?
Yes. He told my mother to um, quote unquote beat his ass whenever he was trying to grab my mother's glasses.
So Brian told your mother to beat his ass, meaning Pearson?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recognize that back and forth text messaging?
Let me read it real quick.
Okay.
We're at the noon hour while she's reviewing that. We're gonna go ahead and break for lunch.
Okay.
We'll break for lunch until 1:15.
All right.
Are you ready for Ms. Graham to come back to the stand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Graham, I remind you, you remain under oath.
Mrs. Gramman, have you had a chance to look at that text messaging?
I did right before lunch. So
Okay. Is it familiar to you?
this was from a long time ago, so vaguely.
Okay. And so the lighter color, that would be you, correct? And then the
Yes,
darker will
that's
be.
what got me confused when I was reading this
Right,
at
okay.
first.
Well, can you just go ahead and read from the very top, which will be you, and just identify if it's you or him?
Well, if it's from his phone, his will be on the right side.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and start reading from the very top there.
Got it lowered $10 off a month for being a loyal customer. He says, take the watch off the phone plan. I said, going to. You're the biggest ass. You do nothing but put me down. He says, you're a complete fool. Take the insurance off the phone. Watch completely off the plan. You need to learn how to ducking listen. That's supposed to be something else. It's like giving instructions to a child. I said, breadwinner or not, I still have, sorry, it's so blurry. I still have to work just to pay for your stupid bills that you put in my name, just so you could be able to fuck me over if anything ever went sour. I can't stand you. You're the fucking child. Honestly, I don't even want to call him back and waste more of my day right now. Fucking ridiculous. He said, kiss my ass. I did what had to be done for our family and our future if you're so, and then nothing.
That's fine. Thank you for that. So I have numerous text messaging just like this with these kinds of languages. So would it be fair to say that both of you, this is your normal back and forth texting communication?
No, he provokes it out of me. Before I met him, I never cussed, I never sweared.
Okay, but then after you met him, you started using foul language as
It
well?
was the only way I could get him to pay attention to me
Okay,
and hear me whenever I was trying to make a statement. He
Okay.
wouldn't take me seriously.
okay, so I'm on your third issue, which is the drug abuse. So what type of drug do you allege that he has been abusing?
Marijuana.
Okay, and have you seen him use that
every day.
every day? Do you use it?
No,
Okay. Did he have anybody with him using it?
he would invite whoever over to our house to smoke weed.
Okay, how often did that happen?
Sometimes once a week, sometimes twice a week. It just depended on everybody's work schedules.
Okay,
So,
so although he would deny that, but he would agree for any drug testing that the judge will order. Would that alleviate some of your concerns? If he tells you today that since you left your house, that he has not used any of that and he doesn't have any intentions of using it, and if the judge orders him to do a hair follicle, urine drug screen, whatever it is, he's willing to subject himself to, does that somehow alleviate some of your concerns?
it would have to be a hair follicle test because I've seen him fake urine test. He knows how to do that.
Okay, so if he's, and I said that, hair follicle test, so that
Yes.
helps a little bit for you?
Sure,
Okay.
but
But,
I know better. I know he's still using.
okay. Did your lawyer gave you a copy of his apartment lease?
No,
Did he tell you that in that apartment lease, he's not allowed to have any alcohol or any illegal drugs, just because it's not really it's not a regular apartment. It's more of a retreat, but then they gave him a leeway to rent one of those cabins. So he had
I would
to,
object, I don't know if there's a question in here, but she's talking about something I told her, I don't think that's admissible at all. She used the pronoun he, and she was talking about whether or not I'd given the lease, but I don't think she can answer what I've talked to her about, that's attorney-client.
that's something that we produced in a discovery, Your Honor, and I would expect that if it's anything that helps with the situation, that it would have been divulged to the mother.
But what goes on between Mr. Holly and his client is confidential and therefore would not be appropriate to ask that question, so.
I understand, Your Honor.
Stating objection.
So are you aware of his apartment situation, that condition that he subjected himself to?
yes, because when we first met, he lived there. He still brought in alcohol and drugs. He brought in me. I was not supposed to be there after hours. That didn't stop him. What would stop him from doing that now?
When did he
Nobody
live
could stop him.
Okay, when did he live there?
Let's see, when did we meet? I know we met at the end of February of 2020. So I know he lived there then. And I think he moved there around January
Okay.
because he was a part of that boys program.
What year was that?
2020.
2020, okay. But you would agree that it would alleviate a little bit if he would subject himself to a hair follicle test?
I think he needs to be drug tested, yes.
Yeah, but would that alleviate your concern? If he turns negative, meaning no drugs in his system, is that gonna help with your concerns?
Well, he could take that test and then start doing drugs the next day. It would have to be a regular thing.
Okay,
You know, you understand what I'm saying?
right. So if it's a regular thing, would that help alleviate your concerns?
Some.
Okay. All right. Now, moving on to, you said that he would be drinking and be passing out. How often did this happen, just in general, if you can recall?
About every day for the past 2 or 3 months that we were at the end of our being together.
Okay, so he would work 60, 80 hours a week, is that right? At the time?
8 hours a day for 5 days a week.
Okay, and then he'd come home, he'd be drinking, and then he'd pass out.
He'd be drinking before he got home.
He'd be drunk, okay.
Yeah, he would already be intoxicated by the time he got home.
Okay. Did he have friends over at the time?
Yeah, he would invite friends over.
Okay. So he'd be already drunk when he gets home, and then he'd be
And high.
and high. Okay.
He was always high.
Okay. Always.
Always.
Every day.
Every day.
Okay.
Every waking moment he went and smoked. I haven't seen him sober from weed since October 21st of 2021 on his birthday, when his coworkers decided to give him some. And ever since that day, it's just been horrible.
Okay. All right. Now, I'm moving on to your number 5. Mindset is questionable. So you're saying that he's a narcissist and all those things, and that he never really helped you with Pearson. So is it your testimony that he basically never helped with taking care of Pearson's daily needs?
Yes, he never changed diapers. He never put him to bed. Pearson, he was a very fussy baby during the night because I was breastfeeding him. I breastfed him till he was 20 months old, until I couldn't anymore. He would not get up for his cries at night. I attended to all of Pearson's needs, his physical needs and his emotional needs, and I was more than happy to.
Okay.
But it broke my heart that he did not want to.
Okay. So if I have his grandparents and other people who had been around you testify that he has helped with feeding and changing of diapers and all that, they'd be lying as
They
well.
would be lying, yes,
Okay.
because
Okay.
they told me many times they were in front of him that they were disgusted in his behavior and how he
And who-
treated me and did not take care of Pearson.
Who is they?
His grandparents.
The grandparents? When did
Especially
they
his-
tell you that?
The last time that we gathered, especially, his grandmother and I had a conversation where she even told me she would understand if I did leave Brian because of how horribly he was treating me.
Can you give me a date? A year, a month?
It was this. When was it? It was this year, earlier this year. I do.
Before you left the house?
Yes,
So 2023?
yes, I do believe that
Okay.
is when it happened.
Okay. All right. So that was the end of your concerns there. So now let me go back that you told me here. Let me go back to the vehicle situation. How many cars did you all buy while you were together?
Oh man, I had a Nissan Xterra that I bought previous to marriage. I had that about a year or two before we met.
Just the cars that you all bought,
That we
that you
bought.
put in your name.
Yes,
Yeah.
but from that Xterra, he totaled it
Okay.
and claimed insurance on it. So from that Xterra, we got a Chevy Avalanche and a Ford Focus. And then he also bought a Corvette, and he bought a motorcycle. A Lexus was given to us,
Mhm.
and it was sold. We also had a jet ski for a minute.
Okay. So I got Chevy that replaced the Nissan, Ford, Corvette, a motorcycle, a Lexus, and then you said you have a jet ski. So
We did.
all of these vehicles were titled to your name, correct?
Yes.
Was the insurance also in your name?
Yes, he didn't have
Okay.
a license, so there was no way to insure him.
Right. Okay, so you all bought this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vehicles. And you're only driving one out of the,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes, ma'am.
the Chevy.
No.
Which one were
The
you?
Ford Focus.
The
It's
Ford
a
Focus.
small car.
Okay. All right. And again, when you married Brian, you knew that he didn't have a driver's license, correct? Or not a active one.
Yes, I knew
And you
that.
all bought this, put in your name, correct? Well, you already answered that. Never mind. Okay. So you said that he claimed the insurance proceeds of the Nissan.
Yes.
How would he have claimed that if your name is the insurance in the insurance policy?
We claimed it in my name.
Okay. So you claimed it in your name. Who totaled it actually?
He did.
He did, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so he totaled it, but you were in the insurance policy, so you claimed it. So what did you tell the adjuster who was driving when the vehicle was wrecked?
Judge, I guess I want to object to the relevance. I'll let go for a little bit, but we're here for a parenting plan today, and I don't know where this would lead in relation to the child.
Your Honor, it goes to her character. She had made a fraudulent claim with the insurance company. She's alleging that my client has, issues with his character. And we're not denying, I mean, my client is not perfect, but we're saying that she has done things that would point to her character.
Then ask her the question directly rather than dance around the question. Ask her if she filed a false insurance claim and let her respond to that. I think we're going too far afield. There may be some relevance, and I'll allow you to ask the question, but going into all of this extraneous information is not necessary.
Okay, I understand, Your Honor. So fraudulent claim was filed with the insurance.
He made me.
Okay. Did he point a gun at you? When
He
you
may
talked to
have.
Okay.
I can't remember. I
Okay.
cannot recollect.
Okay. Was the check named to your name?
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Was the check made to your name from the insurance company?
I'm sure it was.
Okay. And you turned around and bought the Chevy, correct?
He bought the Chevy.
Okay.
Yes.
Using that money?
Yes.
Okay. Was there any money left over?
Very little.
Okay.
My parents had to pay the rest on the vehicle that for myself because I was working 12-hour shifts and I needed a way to get to work other than him driving me and picking me up and
Okay.
people driving me back home because he wouldn't pick me up from work.
Okay.
So
Do you have guns?
I have a .22 pistol in my name.
Anything else that you have?
No,
Okay. You
not
live
on
with-
my, not with me.
Not
He
with-
owns my 380. Well, he has my 380 that is registered in my name as Tony Ray.
Okay.
My
So
maiden name.
physically with you have the .22 pistol, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You live with your parents, that what you said
I
earlier?
do.
Do they have guns too?
My dad has yes, he has a rifle and a pistol, and he also has a kind of like a BB gun. It's for
Okay.
squirrels.
And do they have a gun safe?
Yes.
Okay. Is your gun, do you take that with you
It's just in my car.
out in your car? Okay. Where do you keep it in your car?
In a
Judge, I want to renew my objection again to relevance. I just don't know how this fits in with the parenting plan.
Your Honor, we have proof that she would leave her gun at the drink console, which goes for her parenting.
Or her what?
Well, it goes to her parenting skills and fitness. If you're leaving we have proof to show that she would leave her gun in the drink console in a vehicle. And she had accused my client of not being responsible with his guns. So it goes to her fitness and decision making. And the child will be in the car when she does that. I will have testimony about that.
2-year-old's in a lockdown car seat in the back seat. If she's carrying a gun up front somewhere for protection, we're all allowed to do that in the state of Tennessee, so.
It may not have much relevance, but she's trying her case. I'll allow her to ask the question. Overruled.
So where would you put the gun so you say you leave it in your car?
yes, in that glove box.
Oh,
Little
okay.
pull down thing.
Have you ever left it in the dashboard,
No way.
in the drink console where you put drinks?
No,
Okay,
that would be a stupid thing to do,
okay,
respectively.
all right. Whenever you left the house, do you recall, we had a conversation before you hired Mr. Holly, and you agreed that you would allow him to see Pearson at the park close to your house?
Judge, I'm going to object to this. This is First of all, it sounds like a discussion about a settlement negotiation between her acting pro se. She didn't have counsel. I don't know anything about this conversation. I would object to her having to answer that question.
Sustained, it would appear to me to be a discussion of a settlement, even though she was pro se at the time, the rules would still apply. Sustain the objection.
I'll move on, Your Honor. Well, do you recall the time when he showed up at so do you recall when you didn't, you basically changed your mind on meeting at the park? Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, so he was already there, and then do you recall him showing up at your parents' home to see Pearson? Do you recall that?
Yes, he was trespassing on my father's property.
Okay.
He was not allowed there.
Okay. And then, so do you recall that he called the police because he really, really wanted to see Pearson? You remember that?
Yes, and I remember that the cop was very angry. He came up and spoke with us that he called an emergency number in a non-emergency situation when he was the problem. He
Okay.
was very upset.
So even though Brian was with a police officer, you still refused for him to even have a glance of Pearson at the time, correct?
He was drunk. The cop said he looked intoxicated. I did not want him
I'm going to
around.
object to hearsay,
son.
Your Honor.
She asked the question, and is it offered for the truth of the matter asserted, or for the issues of him being a proper parent and his parenting skills for wanting visitation to that matter?
Don't rule the objection.
You can answer.
I'm sorry.
Are you done? Are you done with your answer?
Judge,
What was?
I need a
I
point of
to-
clarity. The objection, she made the objection.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got confused there. All right. So
I
you may
understood.
not. You may.
I can tell the difference between you two, and I can tell who's objecting and who's not. I've overruled her objection to the answer that the question that she asked of the witness.
Okay. I'm going to move on from that.
Okay.
Okay. Now, do you recall when he texted you in August when Pearson's birthday was coming up, asking to be invited in the doctor's appointment? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And what did isn't it true you said, no, you're not invited?
Yes, I didn't. He's not a doctor, and why would he have to be there when I was going to send every record over to him? There's just no point.
Okay, so in your mind, it's not in Pearson's best interest for his father to be participating in a doctor's appointment.
I didn't see a need in him being there. He
Okay.
would just harass me. It
Okay.
was his goal in mind.
Okay, did he tell you that he was going to harass you?
Why would he tell me he's going to harass me?
So he was asking to be there at the appointment. That was the question, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so you refused that, correct?
Yes, because I know he would harass me. That's the whole point of him coming here
Okay.
to there.
All right.
Because I'm more than willing to send over doctor's records and tell him what has happened in there, but there's no reason to bring him into the doctor's appointment.
Okay, so all he can get are medical records. That's what he deserves, correct? That's your testimony.
He didn't care before.
And I'm just asking, that's all you want him to
Essentially.
get? Okay,
Essentially.
all right. Have you consulted with Thomas Vertrees in Lebanon?
Have I consulted with him?
Yes?
I did, yes.
Was that before? What is he? Is he a therapist?
He is.
Okay. In your interrogatories, you said there's nothing wrong with you, and you never listed any doctors, professionals, medical professionals, but now you're testifying that you did see a therapist, correct?
He said there was nothing wrong with me. He said I was being psychologically abused.
Okay. When did you see him?
Let me see. Well, it was after I had Pearson. I remember I was cleaning all these houses and taking him with me. So that must have been the year of 2022.
Okay. Did you see him before your marriage?
No, I knew him, actually. We all went to church together, and he was part of our youth group.
But you never saw him before your marriage. So if I pull your medical records from
Oh, no,
him,
I
I'm not
never
gonna
did.
see. Okay.
Never did.
I'm not gonna see any medical records with you consulting or having treatments with him.
No, you will not.
Okay. Were you on any medications for mental health?
No,
Okay. Are you seeing him still or?
no,
Okay. Are you seeing any therapist?
no,
Okay. Are you being seen by any other psychiatrist, psychologist, or?
no,
Okay.
ma'am.
One moment, Your Honor. I'll pass the witness.
Holly?
Sir,
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I forgot. I was looking for this. I do have just one document to go over with her and then I'm done. I did miss this to address your concerns on the, so you said the mindset was questionable, okay?
Yes.
Okay, I am going to pass this to you. Read that to you.
it's his assessment, so it's not hers.
I can ask her that. Then I'm gonna have him understand.
You gotta wait till he's amended it. You called him out of order, but I'm gonna object to her answering any questions about that. It's not hers.
Okay, well, I'll wait. I'll retract it for now. I just have one more question. Did you know that Brian underwent a clinical assessment in Main Street?
Yes, I am
September.
aware.
Okay, did you know that,
That's two questions.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
That's two questions. You said one more question, you ask a question,
I
then you
lied,
ask
Your
another.
Honor.
Go right
I'm
ahead. I
sorry.
just wanted to point out that I'm keeping track.
Okay, I will remember that. Okay, do you know that the result, that was done in September of this year? Do you know that? It was
What
done
was it?
recently.
I'm sorry, Ms. Hendrickson, what exactly did he undergo?
At Main Street Interventions, he underwent a mental health assessment. And did you know that the score indicated that he has a low risk of experiencing clinical problems and that there appear to be no mental health issues? Did you know that?
I'm gonna object to the question as it stands. This is his assessment. It's not been introduced into evidence.
I'm just asking Your Honor if she's aware of any results.
You can ask if she's aware of it. If she says she's aware of it, that's fine. If she's not aware of it, she's not aware of it. But it doesn't make it more true than not true that those things in that report are true. She's asking her whether or not she's aware that that's what the evaluation says.
So you may answer.
The court is not going to consider the evaluation statements that Ms. Hendrickson is quoting as evidence. I'm allowing her to ask the question whether this witness is aware of that report.
There were emails that were sent to me about him going to anger management and therapy. I didn't look too deeply into it
Okay,
because it's anger management and therapy.
right. Well, I'm talking about an assessment. If it's true, if the result says it appears that he does not have any mental health issues, does that alleviate some of your concerns with
She's
regards?
asking if it is true about what's in the mental assessment. So I would renew my objection.
Question assumes facts not in evidence to sustain the objection. You do not have to answer the question.
I'll be able to enter that later, Your Honor, so I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Holly, you may question your client.
So, Ms. Graven, you work cleaning houses and cleaning an elderly folks' home.
Yeah, that's what I do now. Yes.
And you mentioned you had like a flexible schedule.
Yes.
So how flexible is your schedule? If you need to attend to Pearson, what can you do with your schedule to make sure that that gets done?
I just text my boss. She is wonderful, and she knows my situation and what I'm going through. And she says, if you can't make it in today, that's okay, which I always give her a few days notice if I can't make it, or when I can. It's just, I keep in close contact with my boss through text.
If he has a doctor's note, or if he's, a doctor's appointment, if he's sick, something like that goes around, can you rearrange your schedule to care for him?
Very easily, yes.
Was Mr. Graman ever able or willing to do that while you were with him and cohabitating?
No, I don't recollect him coming to a doctor's visit at all. No.
Did you ever stay home with him when he was sick and not go to work?
No, he was never alone with Pearson. He never watched him for me, even though it would have been helpful, but he never did.
Was that his choice or your choice, or what, that he never?
His
did that?
choice. I asked him, and he said, that's not my job, that's yours. So I would have to take him to work with me. He was trying to make everything very hard on me because he was trying to make me put him in daycare to separate me from him, is what it really seemed like, and I don't understand why. Would I put him in daycare now? Possibly, because he's older. At that age, Brian was wanting me to go back to work where I was working 12-hour shifts at a pill factory straight after I had him. And I said, I think I want to raise my baby in whom I prayed for all throughout my pregnancy. And he didn't seem to really care. He just wanted me to work.
May I approach?
You may.
I want to hand you a document and ask you if you recognize that document.
I do.
What is that document?
It's a picture of Pearson's first birthday party. Who all was present? It was just myself, Brian, my mom, and my dad, and of course Pearson. I made him a cake, a homemade cake. It was just a yellow cake, and I put Cool Whip on it and strawberries, and it was really good. And I gave it to him, and this picture shows that he's tearing into it, and he's actually feeding me a piece.
Where's Mr. Graman in that?
Moping around on the couch on his phone, laying down.
Is that customary for Mr. Graman to be doing those types of things?
Yes, most of the time he's not even around us. He was, but at the last house we lived at, he was in his garage most of the time, and then when we lived with my parents during this time period of we were there for about 7 months, he would just be out in the vehicles avoiding us, and I'd beg him to just come and hang out with us, and he didn't want to.
Exhibit 1, or my evidence anyway, I think we may be at 3. So you're familiar with where Mr. Graman lives now, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and what's the name of the facility where he lives?
So it's just called The Retreat, and it's in Smithville.
And if you were to drive, and what is your address?
Town Road, Watertown, Tennessee.
Okay. And how far away is that from Smithville?
Surprisingly, it's kind of a significant amount away because of the back roads. You're having to travel up a lot of mountains and dodge the lake a lot. So it's a good 45 minutes, sometimes an hour drive, depending on traffic and road work. There's a lot of road work being done up there.
And you lived at the retreat with Mr. Graman, correct?
No, I did not. I visited all the time. I basically lived there. I was there all the time because he did not have a vehicle. So I went and visited him after I got off work.
This was during the courtship prior to the marriage, correct?
Yes.
But you are familiar with the retreat where he lives?
Yes, I loved that place. It's beautiful. It's I wish I lived there.
What was the purpose for the retreat? What kind of place is it?
Well, it has multiple purposes. It's a place where people can rent out like a cabin out on the lake for a weekend, or for church group events and retreats. But they also had a program for troubled youth, and they had a sister retreat in New York, and this was called Timothy Hill. Brian was a part of Timothy Hill program. After he was incarcerated for 2 years, almost 2 years, it wasn't quite 2 years, they sent him into that program, in which the program itself is a very promising and has a very pure intentions. Is to help young boys who have either had horrible home lives or have just came out of jail, and gave them opportunities to rebuild their lives and give them jobs. They got many job opportunities and a lot of counseling. And Brian, when I first met him, he was the only one. He was kind of the test guy, the test dummy, so to speak, for this place here in Smithville.
So you're saying he was with the one in New York and then he got transferred down here?
Transferred, yes, because they needed another maintenance person.
Yep.
And he's very good at building and maintenance. He's very smart in that. And so they wanted him to do that, but he's still part of the program.
Okay. But again, does it cause you concerns with Pearson being there and there being a issue with troubled teens and him staying at this place called the Retreat?
Yes, because they
How
couldn't.
so?
Well, they couldn't control Brian while he was there. He just kind of did whatever he wanted. Now he had strong words with some people, and they said, you don't need to be doing these things. But he did anyway.
I'll wait.
Stay this to the hearsay.
So as far as everything you know about what happened at the retreat and these strong words, all the stuff you're talking about, how do you know about that?
Well, I heard it.
From who?
It's kind of his mentor, and he was kind of head over all of the youth.
Stop talking for a second. What?
I'll object again, it's just a back way of getting the hearsay in.
I'm attempting to lay a foundation to see if you heard
Well,
it from Mr.
don't
Graham.
repeat anything that someone else said, unless it is the or the plaintiff in this case. The adverse party, you can talk about what he may have said, but you cannot repeat anything anyone else said. Well, sustain it as to any hearsay.
Let's cut to it. Did Mr. Graham ever talk about what you're testifying to?
Yes.
And what were his words about all of this?
He said Deontay got on to him for sneaking me in past hours, in which I was willing to not do that anymore, because that did make me feel bad. Like, yes, I think that was probably wrong of me to do. And he just kept saying, no, you need to come back. And he liked to drink on the premises, and no drinking rule.
What did
He was
say
driving
about
my
that?
vehicle.
What did he say about the no drinking rule?
He didn't care. He did it anyway.
So again, you're concerned for Pearson staying at the retreat,
Yes.
correct? And you have good you're very familiar, put it that way, with what the retreat is.
I am.
Do you feel like that's a good place for a child, a 2-year-old?
No, not necessarily. They have all
Well-
kinds of different.
Tell the court, what would be your concerns with Mr. Graham and a 2-year-old at the retreat specifically?
Well, Brian sells drugs sometimes, so I'm sure he'll sell drugs to the other residents that are there, and there will be drug deals happening within the home, and letting just the troubled youth within his home and around the child. There are just so many
Troubled
things. Yes, with the troubled youth. Some of them may have
Have you
backgrounds in
witnessed Mr. Graham
violence.
selling drugs?
Yes, many times.
How often?
At the beginning of our marriage, he did it a lot. And I said, if you're going to, I mean, I told him, it's illegal, stop. He didn't care. I said, if you're going to do it, don't do it within our home. He still did not care. He would invite people into our home and sell marijuana. He's also sold mushrooms, but it was mainly marijuana. If there was any other drugs, I did not personally see them, but I do know for a fact he was selling marijuana. I would see this happen often.
And, I mean, why didn't you call the cops? Why didn't you object to it before now?
I was scared.
Scared of what?
Him.
Now, approach.
You might,
Show you this document. Ask if you recognize this document.
Yes,
That is a handwritten document, correct?
it is.
What does it depict?
Credit cards that he used and got in my name.
Explain that. Credit cards that he got in your name.
Yes.
Okay, what was the reasoning Mr. Graham gave to you for putting credit cards in your name?
He just said we needed to, well, he manipulated me and said, let's build your credit. I never had a credit card before. I really didn't understand how they worked. I was really ignorant to a lot of money things. I'm great at saving money, but I didn't know anything about credit or credit cards. And I said, well, he's my husband, so okay, I trust him.
That second card on there is a card that has a little over $7,000 balance, correct?
Yes.
And what was the purpose in getting that card?
Oh, we got that card beginning of January.
Your Honor, I'm going to object because this was not part of my direct examination, so it's going to be beyond the scope of his.
it's not required to be part of the direct examination. He's cross-examining on it's only on redirect that you're limited to what was asked on direct examination. Overrule the objection.
Okay. Go ahead and answer the question.
He got it because we were low on money and we were planning to go on a trip to New York to visit his family. He was hell-bent on it. We even got sick a week prior. We were very sick. We were running 104 temperatures. I don't know what we had, but it was pretty brutal. And he ended
I
up,
think I may have
Sorry.
misunderstood. You were objecting to the fact that this is not relevant to the procedures that we have today.
That also, Your Honor.
I sustain that objection. It's not relevant. We're not here on monetary issues. We're on the adoption of a parenting plan.
May I address court?
Yeah.
Well, she's testifying that the child was extremely sick with a 104-degree fever. Both of them did that, and he's still adamant about getting on a plane and going to New York. And that's the reasoning for that.
And that's one thing, but you're introducing a list of credit cards he obtained in her name, and that's the point that's not relevant. Yes, it's relevant whether he insisted they take a sick child on an airplane ride, but that's different than having a list of credit cards and saying he obtained them in her name.
I understand. I guess that's where I was going with this, is
I'm
the
trying to
child.
focus on the issues that we actually have to decide, because we have more cases today than, as you well know, we're going to get to unless we can hurry. Go ahead.
All right.
In any way, I'm sustaining Ms. Hendrickson's objection to the relevance on the issue of the list of credit cards, but it is relevant as to whether or not she says that he insisted they take a sick child on an airplane. It's also relevant whether she agreed to that and went along with it.
So, all right, as far as this trip to New York goes, you testified that you had a fever. Do you remember what Pearson's fever was?
his got up to 102 at one point, which is, that's pretty high. And
You said you were sick.
I was sick. We were all sick.
Mr. Graham was sick.
Yes, he got over it before us because he got the sickness first and then gave it to us.
What was your position about traveling with a sick child?
I said, you're crazy and we don't need to do this. And he just did not listen to me. He said, you're going to pack a bag tonight and we're going. He made me. Because if I just totally stood my ground, I would have had to have left the home and gone to my parents' house, because he would have just I don't know what he would have done, because when his mind is fixated on something that he thinks should be done, he will go to the ends of the earth to make sure that that's done, and put me through the ringer through it.
You made a similar comment. Ms. Henderson was asking you about having to get into a car and that he would freak out is the reason why you got into the car. Is that what you're talking about now? Him having an anger outburst and freaking out on you for?
Yes, he freaks out on everything. If I do not follow his exact commands, he will absolutely lose it, scream at me. There was an incident where he actually put Pearson up on his shoulders and ran out the door and started running in the yard to terrorize me.
I have just a moment, Judge.
You may.
You heard my opening statement talk about an issue that Mr. Grumman had at the dollar store
Yes,
with a lady, correct?
yes.
Tell the court briefly what that was, when that happened and what that was.
I don't have the exact date in front of me. I would have to reference my notes. It was a couple weeks. No. It was a week before I left him.
Okay, a week before you separated.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
He came home. I was giving Pearson a bath. He stormed in the door and he said, this lady, he said, this black lady came up to me while I was at Dollar General, and she was telling me off because I passed her. I was speeding, going really fast, and I passed her, and she didn't like that. And so she ended up seeing him at the Dollar General, and she gave him a piece of her mind, saying, you shouldn't be doing this. And as we were in there, he said, I'm going to go.
Objection to hearsay.
Yeah, with what the lady told Brian.
Objection is to hearsay on the statements of the woman.
This is what Mr. Grumman told you, correct?
Yes, this is straight out of Brian's mouth.
It would still be hearsay, but why are you introducing that?
I'm asking you to give kind of a synopsis. I have him recorded talking about the incident too, so I'm going to move this thing along with her just a little bit. I'm just trying to introduce this audio recording of Mr. Grumman coming in with this freak out outburst, and what she's testified to is a common occurrence.
All right, overrule the objection. I'm going to allow it not for the truth of the matter asserted therein, but to show or demonstrate a mental state of the declarant.
This is just an audio recording, but my speaker doesn't get that loud. I think it comes through on the television as well. All right, Mr. Brown, I'm going to play this, and at the end of the recording, I'm going to, let me ask it this way. You provided a recording in my office, correct?
I did.
And it's concerning what we were just testifying to, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to let you listen to this, and if this is not the recording that you provided in my office, you can stop me at any time, okay?
Oh my God, is she a smart lady lead? Because I was finna smash out every motherfucking window on her car and probably put my hands on her. And they'd never known who did it in that fucking helmet. Yeah. This was the murder on the fucking movies. I wanted to think it's my choice. I didn't put her ass in danger, I just made her feel fucking sulky.
Honey, please stop.
Hey, do you know how much money Daddy spent on dinner tonight at the companies? Daddy's probably gonna get a talking to this week. You know how much golf and dinner was for 12 people? After tip, came out to $11,000 even. That's how much money I spent this afternoon. None of mine. I didn't spend $1 of my money. But I spent $11,000 in Esther's money today.
Your Honor, I'm going to object
Well,
because
guess
it's not
what?
relevant.
Guess who's getting a
Hold
motherfucking raise?
Basis of your
what-
objection.
No, I'm
Relevance
Can
on
you
that
let's
part?
let him pause.
I'm
it
sorry.
first.
I bought this
There's a little
thing.
button that has two little vertical mine's.
My other one went south. I bought this one, it was on sale, and it doesn't have a touch screen. So I'm still trying to hit the screen now with this one, and nothing's happening. I gotta get reprogrammed.
All right, we have an objection. What is your objection?
The part where he was talking about what he's spending for the company, it's just not relevant to the parenting plan request.
Overruled. I think it shows the character and personality of the parties, goes to her supporting her testimony. Overruled. Let's go ahead and start it, go back to where you were.
So I thought Daddy's getting a raise. Yeah, buddy, when the school's over, we looking at probably 10 to 15 grand more a year. Which, I mean, that comes out to like $1,200 a month. That's a big deal. It's like $300 a week bonus raise. Oh, did Daddy do good with the city officials? Does Daddy have one hell of a fucking invoice to write up tomorrow? Yes. But Daddy thinks he was part of securing like a $200 million contract. So if that's how it plays out, Daddy's gonna move up the ladder really quick. 'Cause Daddy really had no place where Daddy was today. I still don't know why Daddy got invited. I don't know. I was like 3 levels shy of every other Messer employee there. But they invited me. And I think they're trying to push me out of the full fast. Which, I mean, the next step is like $90,000. And the next step after benefits is like 90 a year. It's like 75,000 before that. But that's like $1,400 a week on a 40-hour week. That's good money. That's put me a lot fucking closer where I want to be. It was a trick. It was all that tickles. Police coming out there. Nobody's driving the car. The car hasn't moved in days. Yada yada yada. You don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It's not about what they think they know. It's about what can be proved. They can't prove shit. They might be able to prove the car was at Dollar General. They can prove the car was at Dollar General based on her pictures. But they can't prove I passed her like an asshole. They can't prove I was the driver. They can't prove nothing else. You don't know nothing. Don't say nothing if the police come knocking. We don't know shit. Nothing. You can literally, if they come knocking on the door, tell them my husband said, tell you suck a dick. Talk to him. You can literally tell them that if they come knocking. Because it's not what they know, it's what they can prove. But they can't prove shit that the car was at Dollar General. So they prove. Because there ain't no cameras outside Dollar General. Can't prove who drove that car. It could have been my fucking buddy, it could have been a fucking coworker, it could have been anybody else in that fucking car. Yeah. It's not about what they think they know, it's about what you need to have. And you're pretty shit in this car. So, if cops come knocking, just send them my way tomorrow. Because I would not be surprised, honestly, if they just came knocking here, or this car already showed you, ground test here. Right here. Then they're going to come knocking here. But they're going to come knocking. Because I'm pissed that lady off. Like, when I tell you I smoked them fucking tires from the parking spot around the bitch, all the way out the entrance.
So
like,
why did she get mad at you?
Because I passed her at like probably 120, 130 miles an hour.
But you can't just do that to people, Brian.
I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. It's America.
America has laws.
Well, I choose to follow it from the top.
What law were you following?
The one I wanted to. Freedom.
Okay.
And I chose to be pretty and drive fence. And once again, whether I was wrong or not, it's not about what they think they know. It's about what they can prove, and they can't prove shit. They can't. Even if she had a dash cam, and she caught me going around trying to mock fucking Jesus. They can't prove nothing. Because guess what? Even if it kept track of her speed, it's not a calibrated speed thing in the state of Tennessee. I know the laws. I mean, I ain't getting fucked. They might come try to fuck me, but I will stick my dick so far down their throat. Where's your keys to focus? I came in a rush because I didn't know if the police was headed this way.
I'll look in here and see if I can.
I think you that these like clubs though. I could use some longer clubs. I was driving, I don't know, 200 yards, 215 yards. I had some fucking terrible shots too. But I had some shots that were fucking game on. Like I finished 12 people on finished 4. I played golf since last time I had Phillips and fucking James. Fucking scumbag that lives in our old house. So I mean it's been over a year since I played golf and I came in 4th out of 12 players. Fucking Gregory Zenit for my company today. And then they try to get me fucking wasted. We were doing $60 shots. One shot, $60. A fucking 1942.
I'm taking him.
The liquor we were drinking tonight has existed since 1942.
Okay, bye.
Pretty much it. Was that not was that common or uncommon language for him to use in front of Pearson?
That was child's play compared to his mouth normally around Pearson.
Do you have any knowledge if he actually did put his hands on her or anybody at the dollar store?
No, he did not put any hands on people. Like he said in the recording, he wanted to, but he jumped on the motorcycle and did donuts around them. Because we live very close to the Dollar General, like 7 minutes away. So he just did a vehicle swap, came to the house and got on the motorcycle and went after her.
There was another episode where you were with Mr. Gremmon and he was threatening to shoot someone
Yes,
side of the interstate, correct?
yes,
There's no recordings of that whatsoever, are there?
no.
Tell the court though what happened on that day. Give us a synopsis of what happened on that day.
We were coming home from the zoo. We took Pearson to the zoo that day, and there was this guy that kept kind of passing us. I wasn't really paying attention, but Brian sure was, because he's very competitive natured in spirit. So Brian was driving, and this guy kept he'd pass us and then slow down. It was just really weird. And I said, Brian, you need to get away from this guy. Instead of trying to get away from him, he pursued him, and this man it was on Briley Parkway, so they have that big barrier in the middle, and this man tried to push us into the barrier, and Brian ended up braking, and we slowed down, and the guy went on. I said, okay, let's just get away from him. He said, no, I'm gonna follow him, and he had the 380 in his hand, and he sped up and got right behind him. I said, Brian, what are you doing? I'm in the car, the child is in the car. What if he has a gun? What if he starts firing back, if you start firing shots? And he said, I always wondered what the hole would look like. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, I always wondered what the hole would look like in somebody that came out of this gun. So he wanted to shoot this man, and I pleaded with everything in my spirit to do not pursue this man. Don't shoot him, because you're going to hurt us. I said, you drop us off at the house and you go and follow him. Get us out of here. And after all of this pleading, he finally back down, and we got off on our exit. But if I wouldn't have said anything, we would have been in a gunfight with the child in the back seat.
I'm assuming you've been to the zoo. He hadn't been drinking at the zoo, had he?
No, he has a vape pen that's with marijuana in it, so I mean he's always high, but not with alcohol. No.
Would you say he was intoxicated at the recording? The recording we just played.
Oh yes, he was drunk, very drunk.
So whether he's intoxicated or he hadn't been drinking, whatever, I mean, this is the type of conduct you get from Mr. Graham,
Yeah,
correct?
through and through, drinking or not.
Let me show you a picture if I can and ask you if you recollect that picture.
I do.
What is that picture?
It is of the Nissan Xterra that I had, and it's totaled.
And who wrecked it?
Brian.
Now, the time that you were with him, did he have a license?
No, he didn't get a license until just recently, like a month or two ago.
Okay.
Though I begged for him, told me to get one, and he said, I don't need one.
You have did he explain to you how this happened with the Nissan Xterra?
He did.
What did he tell you?
He said that, so he was working at J&S, but he also had like a little side gig. He was remodeling a house. So he was on his way there. It was around 7 o'clock at night. He was on his way there, maybe 8. So it's dark. And it had already rained. And he said he was taking this curve, and the way the road was, there was a stop sign where somebody could go out in front of him. It was almost like right on the curve. And this guy pulled out in front of him, didn't stop at the stop sign, and he hit his brakes really hard. And he said it just caused him to roll. He like flipped 3 times and he hit a fence. And it's a wonder that he survived. He had so many tools in the back that were not like in cases, like there were saw blades and all this stuff. I was thankful that he got out of there alive. That was crazy.
Are you concerned with Pearson riding with Mr. Graham at any time?
Yes, I am very concerned.
Why so?
He lives for speeding. He loves to speed. It's just something that he always does, and he's always intoxicated, and with his anger, he gets very, very irritated at other drivers, like going after somebody, or just he's an aggressive driver.
I'm going to play another recording for you and ask you if you recognize this. Again, it's Mr. Graham.
I'm running pants me because I fucking brain check the fuck out of them. He didn't want to fight. Somebody did that with me on the road. I want to fight, bro. You can be in my mirror. I was fucking trying everything I could to get that fucker.
Not a very good recording, but what is that a recording of?
So it was raining that day, and Brian was supposed to have a doctor's appointment, and he rode his motorcycle trying to get to this appointment. Well, like I said, it started raining, and it got to where it was hailing, and he ended up pulling over at the pawn shop out towards Charlotte, and he said, hey, you need to like come and pick me up. So I had to load Pearson in the car while it's raining and go and save Brian. So I go out there, and once when we got there, the rain had stopped, then the hailing had stopped. And he said, I'll just go on home. I said, that's probably a smart move. We'll just go home. He said, I'll drive the motorcycle. You drive behind me. That way nobody tries to pass me or drive too close. He was concerned since it's a big motorcycle. So he just didn't want to wreck, with all the puddles and the hail that was on the road. So I followed him, and somebody couldn't see around me. It was a pretty curvy road, and they ended up passing me and in turn passed Brian. Brian did not like that. And as he stated, he was concerned for his safety. Well, he decided to pursue this guy that passed him at a high rate of speed and started flipping him off and went on the other side of the road and was hollering, "Suck my you know what," trying to get him to pull over to fight with this person that just passed him.
And it doesn't like he was intoxicated at that juncture, was he?
I don't believe so, no. No, he was on his way
Photographs and
to
ask you if you
doctors.
recognize those photographs.
Oh, yes.
So what do those photographs depict?
It's a before and after picture of our room at our apartment, our first apartment. Well, the after picture, it's dated December 17th of 2020. The other one was probably just like a week or two before.
John, I'm gonna object to the picture that had a date of 2020. Pearson was not born until 2021, so I don't know what the relevance of that photo would be.
She opened the door and she discussed anger with my client when she originally talked to her about all of these things. And this is a situation where the evidence is going to show exemplifying that anger against her,
I
family
think she's
pet.
objecting to the photograph that was from 2020 prior to the birth of the child. And what are the dates of the photographs again?
December 17th of 2020. Another one doesn't have a date. It's just a before picture of what the room looked like before and what it looked like after.
If I may, I think we've well established an anger problem, and this is just another exemplary offer for
I think
that.
it predates the birth of the child. It's not relevant, sustained.
All right. I'm going to play another audio recording for you and ask you if you recognize this recording.
It's not the best show to watch for real. Why?
Since I'm gonna watch. It's cool.
There's a lot of cussing in it and weird stuff.
You want to arm wrestle or?
No, I just want you to realize it's not very suitable for young children.
I young child. What? You like it, Mike? Like it?
She's hurting. Me just one.
I'm going to stop it there. Do you recognize this recording?
I do.
What is this recording of?
Brian wanted to watch this show. It's called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Sometimes it's rated R, sometimes it's NC-17. The contents on this show are very graphic and explicit. They show nudity, and the situations are high anxiety all throughout the show, and they are just it's not suitable for children at all. And the language in it's horrific, and a lot of racial slurs, and and just nasty speaking in general. And I asked him, hey, you don't need to watch this show while Pearson's around. And he's just saying, I don't care. And he just proceeds to watch it. And in this episode in specific, I'll never forget it because I was like, wow, I can't believe that's on TV. It started the show off with a homeless man masturbating in a alleyway, and it was showing all of that. And that was like the joke of the show. And I had to not let Pearson look at that and see what's going on, and he wouldn't turn it off.
All right. I'm gonna play another recording, ask you to recognize this recording. This is the one I was actually looking for. That's the wrong one.
75.
Did you get my boxes?
No,
Why?
because I was all the way at the other end of
You didn't walk back to get my shit. Are you fucking kidding me?
right. I was all the way at the other end of the store.
You're not doing it for me. What time did you leave the house to go grocery shopping? Told you to or not?
Yeah.
You left here too.
I had to get him ready.
What time? So you didn't leave here. What time did you leave?
I don't know, about 15 minutes after.
So why aren't you home from that?
Because grocery shopping takes a minute, especially when you have a baby.
I don't ask yourself. You guys know?
Yeah.
You're carrying it all.
Yeah, I know.
I got a fucking disaster out here. I need to go put shit away. No, I don't have.
You can go get them. You're not going to be mean to me and bully me while I'm in the store because they didn't carry that.
They do carry that. You fucked up.
How did I?
They had the ones I fucking told you to go get at the end, and you didn't fucking go get them.
Well, because I had already left, and I
don't
said
give a fuck.
that I was willing to get them, and you were throwing this big old hissy fit about it and saying, no, I needed those.
Do it. I said go get them. Why didn't you go fucking get them? You think you're above me? You think you're fucking better than me? I said to fucking go get them.
I think I'm equal.
Fuck you. That's how I fucking feel. Fuck you. Don't ask me for shit. Hurry up and get the fuck food. Get this. The fuck away from me. Get the hell. I'm pissed at you. Get the fuck away. Hurry the fuck up. Put some fucking pepper in yourself. I want you to fucking leave. Oh, stupid. Can't believe you'd rather do the thing than just walk the first fucking mall. You're so fucking stupid. This is better than walking across Walmart? Huh?
Ryan, you shouldn't be acting like this.
I told you to go get fucking
We're fishing loose boxes. You're acting like I forgot medication.
I told you to go get the boxes, did I not? Did I not?
You told me to get other boxes that they did not
And
have.
then I texted and I said, well,
already at the
I
end of
don't
the
give
store.
a fuck. So this is better than walking across the floor. This is better than walking across the
Should
floor.
not be happening.
Because you should have walked your ass across the store and done what you were told. Don't you ask me for a goddamn thing. You understand me? Don't ask me to fucking hit the car, do this, do that. Fuck you.
I don't ask you to do anything.
Now that I gotta take time out of my motherfucking day tomorrow to go to Walmart and deal with that, when you are already at Walmart, don't ask for shit. Don't ask. You can sit fucking here all weekend. Fuck you. You gonna waste my fucking
That's what
time?
I was planning on doing anyway.
All right. Oh, good. Hope you enjoy sitting
Yeah, I will.
there. How do you put the shit away and get them away? Because he's not gonna be up all fucking night. So you better wake the fuck up. You better hands the fuck out. I told you to do that. They fucking me so. So tell us the fuck away. I don't care. I don't care what you're supposed to fucking take care of. Get with your fucking ass for now. I'm fucking done. If I tell you to fucking jump, you ask how fucking hard. You expect me to do what fuck I need to do to take care of people fucking having a way.
Actually, I do.
What the fuck does that mean, dumb bitch? What the fuck does that mean? Huh?
I don't. And a lot of times,
You want a divorce? Yeah. You want a divorce? Then you wouldn't disrespect me fucking constantly. I was at work all motherfucking day dealing with fucking buffoons, and I told you to take care of something for me, and you fucking blatantly disregard what I say to do.
Asking you, do you want to?
I'm getting damn. I can't fucking stand you. I'm gonna slap you out motherfucking head.
All right, and just to be clear, the child was present during this recording, correct?
He was in the car because he was making me carry in all the groceries by myself. And I knew if I would have carried Pearson in first, he would have woke up. And when he wakes up from a nap, he's very fussy and full attention needs to be on him. And so since he wasn't helping me carry in these groceries, I said, well, I need to do this first while he's sleeping. Car doors were open, and Brian, I asked Brian to get Pearson, just take him out of the car, and no, he wouldn't help me carry in the groceries as punishment for
And
me.
this was because this episode was because you forgot something at Walmart to pick up, correct?
Well, I actually went and tried to look for these tackle boxes that he wanted. He said he looked it up on Walmart's website, but he thought I was at the Dixon Walmart. I was in the Charlotte Walmart, and they did not have the specific tackle box that he wanted. And I had already grocery shopped, and I was over there. I said, well, they have these specific boxes, and none of that was good enough for him. And so I was going to check out, and he said, you know what, go ahead and pick up those boxes that you said were over there. I said, I'm already all the way over here. And he said, I'm going to hang up the phone. You better get them boxes. And I said, I'm not walking all the way back to the other end of the store after I had already offered to get that for him, and I was very pleasant. But when I got back home, he opened the door. He's looking for them tackle boxes. He wasn't going to help me carrying them groceries, and he slammed the car door when he didn't see them, and he punched my car 3 times and had
Pearson in the car then, or had you already taken him out?
Yes, he was in the car the whole time through that recording until I got all the groceries inside of the house by myself. I was
Did
finally.
he punch the car when he was?
He did, yes. He punched the car while he's
The
in there.
reality of this, though, that's not necessarily an uncommon event in the day in the life of the
No,
Grammons, is it?
No, and I want to also say that all these recordings were recorded within a 2-week time span. This was not just within our whole marriage. So if that gives you a picture of what was going on throughout the whole marriage, this was just 2 weeks.
This is one of the reasons you're asking for a mental health assessment, correct?
Yes,
And from somebody that's a professional other than Main Street, correct?
yes.
You feel like Mr. Grammond needs help with his anger?
He does, but he don't want it.
And do you feel like Pearson's in jeopardy if he turns that anger toward Pearson?
He's very much in jeopardy because he put my life at risk many times through his anger.
Well, it
and
sounds like,
people.
too, he went to the dollar store and got into it with somebody there.
Yes,
People driving down the road, correct?
yes,
And then he's punching a car that your child is in, correct?
yes, and he has physically abused me out of his anger as well.
Police ever get called?
I did not call. I was too scared. I thought they wouldn't believe me.
Why do you stay with a guy like that?
I loved him, and I really wanted our marriage to work. I grew up within the church, and I really believed divorce was not the answer. In most cases, and I tried so hard, and I believed so much in him. And the longer and longer I stayed, the more and more I realized I messed up getting with him. I messed up.
You've already testified you could pass a drug test today, correct?
Yes.
No
I could.
question about that.
No question. I don't do any drugs.
And you know, you got emails from me, Mrs. Hendrickson asked you, you've seen there's like a parenting assessment, there's questionnaire thing with major interventions about mental health. You've seen some things that he's done, correct?
Yes.
You never saw a drug test, did you?
No, I did not.
And he never went and took a drug test at the time of separation. Before this hearing, we've not been introduced to any sort of drug test, have we?
No, and I don't know why a drug test has not been done.
And just to be clear, your testimony is you've been the main caregiver for Pearson this entire time.
Yes, and I was more than happy to be that for him.
I get that. But what, again, if anything, have you seen Mr. Graham ever do as far as changing a diaper, doing a bottle? I mean, has he ever done any of that stuff?
He changed his diaper twice. He's never given him a bottle. Of course, I breastfed him, but I did also pump breast milk. And there were times where I needed a break, and I said, hey, can you do this? And no, that's your job. He did not comfort Pearson when he cried at night. He didn't check on him. It was solely me.
He's been intoxicated at your parents' house at times, correct?
Oh, yes. And my dad has a very strict no alcohol, no drugs rule. Always has been, always will be. My dad and mom, they don't drink, they don't smoke. It's just, they don't want that.
You've followed the court order about supervised visitation, correct?
I have, yes.
And that's at a church, correct?
Yes,
And that's a church you're familiar with, correct?
that's the church we got married in.
What's been some of the issues with him and the visitations? They're supervised by the Fords. And
Yes,
both of you agreed to that in a court order, correct?
yes.
What would you say as far as good or bad, how the visitations have gone with Mr. Graham?
Well,
The supervised visits.
yes, he was bringing a gun to visitations, and whenever the Fords were willing to watch him, they said that they noticed.
Excuse me for a second. Did you say he brings a gun to visitation?
Yes, the 380 hand pistol.
How does he have a gun?
He clips it to the back of his pants. He conceals it, has his shirt over it whenever the Fords are around, but when my mother does the visitations, he was tucking it in to intimidate her so that the gun
your
was visible.
husband, I understood you correctly. He was convicted of a felony before your marriage,
Yes,
so you're aware of the fact that he's not.
I'm sorry, that was not testified to, the felony conviction.
Well, she said he spent time in prison, so I'm assuming it was a proof. I made an assumption of. Pardon?
It was not a testimony that was entered, because he was never
Well,
convicted of felony.
That's fine. I'll ask the questions that I think are
Sorry.
important. I understood you to say he spent time in prison. Is that correct?
in jail for almost
Was it
2
jail or
it-
prison? There's
It
a
was
big difference.
jail.
Okay. Do you know what he was convicted of?
Breaking and entering into his aunt and uncle's house with other people, and they all had the quote, it said explosive weapons on them.
Do you know what kind of sentence he received?
Just that he went to, well, he had the option to do some kind of program, but he decided to go to jail instead.
He has brought a gun to the church visitation, correct?
Yes, many times.
And your lawyer's now looking for the picture that you sent to your lawyer about that, correct?
Yes.
But I am. I'll find it in a minute. Somebody supplied you with a photograph of Mr. Graham, correct?
Yes, they did.
And they were concerned about the firearm that was in his back holster back here, correct?
Yes, I mean, very easily could have taken it out of the holster and shot it.
I mean, for all intent and purposes, this is a church visitation.
And it's only them in it. It's a small church. Nobody else is within the church.
Was there a need, in your opinion, for someone to have a gun at the church visitation?
No, especially not Brian.
Did
No.
you try to talk to Mr. Grammond about that?
I did. I said, do not bring a gun to visitation. There's no need for that.
What did he say in response to that?
He said that he has the right to carry a gun wherever he wanted. It was his right.
Was that an issue with the Fords and supervising the visits with you?
More with my mother, but yes, with the Fords too. They agreed he shouldn't have a gun. But he was flashing it in front of my mother. He was, like I said, he was tucking it in. He was tucking his shirt in back behind the gun where the gun was very visible.
She was not there, so she doesn't have personal knowledge of this.
It would seem to me she would be relying on what her mother told her. Sustain the
I
objection.
understand. The mother's out here. All right. Hold on. Show you a couple of documents and ask you if you recognize those documents.
Yes.
What are those documents, please?
A pay stub from where I work at Harmony and one paycheck from a client of mine that I personally clean for.
And it's just a fair and accurate depiction of your pay stub and what you make on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, whatever that is.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct. $14 an hour is my rate.
All right. Are there benefits available where you work there?
Well, because I'm part-time, there is none that are available to me right now.
It says part-time, but is that like, I saw that a 39-hour week or something like that for you? Or is that for 2 weeks?
It's 2 weeks. This
Okay.
is bi-weekly pay.
All right. Judge, collective 5?
Sorry.
That's all I had, Judge.
Let me ask this question. If my understanding correctly is that this place that he went to, the apartment that you're saying he lives in now, that he was living there before the retreat, he was living there before you and he married.
Yes.
Did you know that he had been convicted of some sort of criminal offense before you married him?
I knew that he was incarcerated for 2 years, but he did lie to us as to why he was incarcerated.
So he was incarcerated for 2 years?
Almost 2 years.
Almost.
Yeah.
All right. And you say he lied to you about why, but you were aware that he had a criminal history.
I was aware, and he kept
And you
telling
were-
me he was working through it because of the program and such.
And you were aware that he was still drinking it in those apartments that, so I'm taking the retreat to be a sober living facility, something like that.
Yes.
And you knew he was, before you married him, you knew he was breaking the rules and drinking, even though he was in a sober living facility.
Yes, I didn't understand that he had drinking problems, and it looked like just occasional drinking to me.
What? You have redirect?
Mrs. Graham, and that apartment retreat place that he's staying at, do you know that's not a sober living facility? Do you know that?
I know that there is that program for troubled youth called Timothy Hill, and that is part of their.
You just told the judge that
Contract.
it's a sober living facility where alcoholics go in
Through
and
that
have
program.
treatments. Okay, so it's your testimony that that facility is a sober living facility, correct?
Where those boards are, it is.
Okay, did you know that that program stopped, not the, because it's not a sober living, but did you know that the actual program that you were testifying to earlier, where you have delinquent children and all those things, that stopped? They're not doing that anymore. Did you know that?
Judge, again, that's going to call for hearsay.
I'm just asking for her own personal knowledge of it. She can say yes or
She
no.
can testify whether she knows or doesn't know. Overruled.
They post pictures on Facebook multiple times a month that there are boys living there going through that program.
But did you know that they were not like delinquent DCS placed children? Did you know that?
I don't think that's true.
Well, you can say yes or no. Did you know whether they are DCS placed? Usually they're DCS delinquents. Did you know if they were or not?
That is the program, yes, that is what they
So,
deal
okay,
with.
so it is your testimony that these children who go there are from DCS, delinquents, correct? Juveniles.
Not always from DCS. Brian came out of jail. They
I'm
have
saying
many people.
here and now today,
Mhm.
because that program, you didn't know that it was stopped, correct? You didn't know that. In your mind, it's still ongoing. Is that correct? Is that what your thinking is right now?
Yes, because it
Okay.
is ongoing.
Okay. Did you know that it's not even a facility, but did you know that it's basically taking in children of private families who wants their children to improve on themselves? Did you know that?
Yes, they do that as well. And these children are from ages like 16 to 24. Like it's a big, they're not all of them are children.
Okay.
They're like young adults.
Did you know that when you first met him and he was living there, he was not, I would say like a student. He was not part of the program. He was employed in the Tennessee location, not in the New York location, but did you know that he was working?
Yes, that's part of the program. You work there and live there through
Okay.
the program. Yes, he was employed there, but he was also part of the program.
Okay, so that was your belief, that he was
That's what
working
he
plus
told
the
me.
program. Okay.
That is
all
what he
right.
told me.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You testified that he was selling drugs. Do you
Yes.
remember that?
I do.
Do you know who he sold them to?
Yes, I do.
Can you give me names?
Let's see. At our first apartment, he was selling them to our neighbor. He had a weird last name. It's a really beefy guy. And then he also had another friend that he worked with. He sold that to him as well. He sold drugs just out to strangers as well. And then within the last house that we were abiding in, he sold them to another neighbor of ours. His name, he had red hair. He lived in a barn.
If you don't know the name, that's fine.
I just can't remember all these names.
How do you know they were, what kind of substance was he?
Marijuana, and then at the first apartment, there was also mushrooms there.
Okay,
But
how
it
do you
was
know they
mainly
were
there.
marijuana? How did you know that?
I physically saw them, and I saw the physical transactions being done.
Okay. Did you
Money
tell
exchanged.
anybody about this?
May have told my mom. She knew this stuff was happening.
Okay. Would you characterize Brian as exaggerated in the things that he said, like he blows everything up?
Yes,
Yeah. Arrogant,
very arrogant.
thinks full, like very full of himself, basically.
Yes, he's narcissistic, so that, yes,
Right.
he thinks of himself only.
Right.
At
So
all
he
times.
loves to brag, right?
He does.
Yeah. So in those recordings, some of those, do you think they're more of I mean, well, let me strike that. Did he sounded excited, right? In the recording where you were all talking about the Dollar General incident,
Yes.
did he sound excited to you?
Yeah, he was amped up.
He was amped up, yeah. And So he was telling you what happened to him, correct?
Yes.
Did he tell you whether he threatened the lady?
Did he tell her that he was threatening her? Is that what?
Did he say anything along the lines of him directly threatening that woman?
Yeah, he said he was screaming stuff at her as he was going around on the motorcycle,
Okay.
circling their vehicle.
Okay.
It wasn't just that lady in the car. There was a few other people in there. They were coming home from a funeral.
Okay. And then, so in that same recording, he asked you for the keys for the Ford Focus. Remember that?
Yes.
Did you eventually, did you give him the keys to the Ford Focus?
I hid them.
Okay.
When he was on his way home, I was actually trying to get Pearson out of the bathtub so we could run, because I wasn't sure what was going to happen after he did what he was wanting to do. I was very afraid. I actually called my neighbor and I said, "This is happening. I don't know what to do." And she said, "You need to leave." I called Dollar General and I said, "That man that was in the parking lot," he said, yelling at the lady,
Your Honor, he's
ended
just
up
talking
coming.
about hearsay, so I'm gonna object to that testimony.
I think she's saying what she said.
Yes, I am.
It's not
I-
hearsay.
But she's rephrasing the Dollar General store, telling her the man that was
No,
there.
She's saying she called the Dollar General store and said that man that was in the parking lot.
Yes,
Okay.
So
sir.
that's not hearsay, it's her
Yes.
statement.
I told him he was coming back and to call 911. I wanted to call 911, but I was scared if I did not make it out of there. Brian, the first thing he does when there's a heated argument, he takes my phone and my keys and he goes through my phone and he would find that call record. And with me being as frantic as I was, I knew I would not be able to delete that phone call in time, because I'm trying to get a wet child out of the bathtub, put clothes on him, and run out the door. He ended up coming home while we were walking out the door.
But he
So-
never went back to the Dollar General, right, after that?
Well, he did go back. He did go back to the Dollar General. So he came home. He said, "I'm going to do this," and he was driving that Focus. That's what he passed the people in the
Okay.
Focus. And then when he got home, he
Mhm.
told me what he was going to do, and then he got on the motorcycle and left and went back to the Dollar General and circled them
Okay.
people that.
Okay. Has he ever been charged of any assault or any criminal charges after your marriage?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Has he ever been charged of drinking under the influence of alcohol?
Charged of drinking.
Has he ever been flagged or, pulled over for drinking intoxicated?
He's been pulled over many times for speeding, and how he gets away with it, I don't know. But
I'm
as far
asking
as
about
intoxication,
intoxication,
yes, as
yeah.
far as intoxication, no,
Okay.
they did not test him.
All right. And then you testified you went to the zoo, right?
Yes.
Did you plan that or did he plan that?
I think I did, or we both did.
Okay.
I like taking Pearson to the zoo.
Okay. And you were all using which vehicle?
The Ford Focus,
And who was driving?
Brian.
Okay. So you were in the car with him. You were fine with that. It was a planned outing, correct?
Yes, he
Okay.
doesn't let me drive whenever we ride together.
Okay, I didn't ask that. I'm asking whether this is a planned outing
it was
and
a
you were
planned.
okay in the car with him driving, correct?
On the way to the zoo, yes.
Okay.
We didn't have any problems.
All right. Okay. Earlier you testified that he to the effect that he's forced you to get in the car with him. Correct? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember that, and there have been times where he has forced me into the car with him.
Physically?
Yes.
Okay. You said no earlier to that when I said
Does he do this to you?
And you said no, so now you're
He
saying
has
yes.
shoved me into the car.
So
I
which
don't
is
think
it?
he hasn't picked me up into the car. He's shoved me in and slammed the door as I was in there.
Okay.
Sometimes, yes.
All right. Now, on that zoo incident where you were in the car, and then you testified that so the car went past you, right? And then did you all stop in a spot or something like that?
No, we were on Briley Parkway. It's kind of impossible to stop on
Okay.
Briley.
And you told me earlier that he just never listens to anybody. He's gonna do whatever he wants to do, right?
He does do that.
Yeah, and yet you testified because I talked to him, he listened to me, and then that's the end of it. The gun incident where he was telling you about, I wonder what would happen.
What would it benefit if he did not listen to you and kept bringing a gun to visitation after you told him not to?
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Whenever that was brought up to me and I talked to my client about it, isn't it true that I immediately told your attorney that that's not going to happen anymore? Brian has promised that that's not going to happen. Did you?
Judge, I would object. I don't think there's any way she would know about a conversation that me and Ms. Henderson had.
Sustained, I think that would be outside our scope of knowledge.
Well, the following succeeding visitations, isn't it true that he never brought any more guns? Did you know that?
I can't say that he has never brought another gun because I do know that he has in his possession a teeny tiny little Italian hand pistol. They call it a purse pistol.
But you have never seen him by yourself with your own eyes after the situation was brought up. Have you seen him bring a gun or any supervisor well, that's one
Judge, I'm going to
question.
object. She wasn't supervising the visitations. There's no way she would know that.
He's asking her of her personal knowledge, has she ever seen it? So she can answer yes or no.
And you would meet together, right? Whenever you would have the visitation, sometimes you will be there to bring Pearson. Is that correct? So you would see Brian, correct?
Sometimes.
Okay. So what is your answer? Have you seen Brian bring a gun after it was brought up?
No, not
Okay.
after you had discussed it with him, but when I just discussed it with him, he told me to my face as I was picking up Pearson from a visitation, I can bring a gun wherever I want. Because that is my right.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you, which you already answered. So
I
that's
have
fine.
answered that.
Now that gun, was that secured? Did you know what kind of, I'm not a gun person, but do you know what kind of holder he had in there?
I do. I do know
Okay.
the holder.
Okay. Did you know that Jeff Ford, one of your supervisors, also had a gun on him whenever there's supervised visits?
Brian told me that.
Did you know that? Just on your own personal knowledge, have you seen him bring guns
I have not.
or a gun?
No, I've
Okay.
never seen.
Okay. You've never seen it. Okay.
No, ma'am.
So you were not aware that Mr. Ford also brought a gun in his person whenever there was a visit?
Not physically with my own eyes.
Okay. Now, is there a court order for a drug test for him?
Has there been? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Has there been?
Do you know if there's any court order that we need to be aware of?
No, I asked, can we have him drug tested, and it never happened. Never legally came to play.
So the answer is no, there's no court-ordered drug test
No,
for
there
him
is
to do.
not.
Okay.
That's, sorry.
All right.
Answer
And who's changing the diapers during the visits?
Brian is. He
Okay,
is
so
now.
it's not true that he only changed the diapers twice per your testimony, correct?
It is true because he only changed the diapers twice while we were together. Now, during these supervised visitations, he has been.
Okay. Did you ever put your hands on Brian?
Did I ever put my hands on Brian?
Yes.
Yes, I have smacked him before.
Where did you smack him before?
On his face.
Okay. Did you ever punch him?
I probably have.
Okay. Did Brian ever physically hurt Pearson?
He hurt me while I was pregnant.
I'm asking you if did Brian ever hurt Pearson? Not you.
But I was pregnant, so if he hurts me, he hurts Pearson.
Okay, well, you didn't tell me that in your top 1, 2, 3, 4, top 5 concerns. I never heard anything about physical abuse. So now you're saying that.
But you've
that-
read my
No,
interrogatory
I'm not talking
questions.
about that. I thought ask you, and maybe you just forgot, but these are your top 5s. That would be your top, surely, right? If you were really physically abused.
That goes along with anger.
Oh, Jack, we're getting argumentative. First, number one of the top 5 was anger out of this situation. We've talked about all of that at this point.
Well,
Let me see the relevance.
her question has to do with whether or not he had ever physically hurt her. Your question is whether or not Mr. Grammon has ever physically hurt her or hurt the child, I think is what you're asking. And her response was he had hurt her while she was pregnant, and then in her mind it hurt the child. And then what was your next question?
Well, basically, Your Honor, the purpose of the question is to show inconsistencies in her testimony. I asked her for her top 5 or 6 concerns. She never mentioned anything about the physical abuse, and so now she's bringing it up. So I don't know what the objection was as far as.
Judge's argumentative. She brought out anger as the number one issue. And she's trying to make it sound like, oh, you never said anything about it.
Well, anger issues and abuse issues are sometimes the same, sometimes they're different. So overrule the objection, you can ask the question.
Okay, so, and I think she already answered, Your Honor. Now the judge asked you earlier about your knowledge of him being in jail, correct? You knew about that before you got married, correct?
I did, yes.
In fact, did you meet at a church retreat or something like that?
Yes, we went on a church retreat together.
Okay.
To
And then,
Gatlinburg, yes.
okay. And did you know that he completed the jail and whatever program that was prescribed for him to do? Did you know that?
And he completed
That the
his
Timothy Hill,
sentence.
the sentence and the Timothy Hill program. Did you know that he completed that?
No, he did. I don't think he completed Timothy Hill. To my knowledge, he actually just stopped doing Timothy Hill because he found me and took me as a free ride out of there.
Okay.
He didn't
and-
like Timothy Hill.
But he was working at Timothy Hill here in Tennessee. Is that right? They gave him a job.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. And then you went on, dated, and got married. Is that right?
We went on and dated, and he ended up getting another job at J&S Construction outside of where he was living and working out.
Okay.
So then he could quit, the retreat and start work for J&S. It paid more.
Okay. That photo that was shown to you that was wrecked, that was the Nissan Xterra, is that right? That
Yes.
was the one where a fraudulent claim for the insurance was made. Is
Yes.
that correct? Okay. And you have represented to the insurance company that it was you who was driving it. Is that correct?
I did.
Okay. Now, do you know that he has an active, valid driver's license?
Yes, I have been made aware of that.
Okay. And so he has done some steps to rectify that issue. Does that mean anything to you?
It means that he's trying to cover his own self.
Okay,
He
it doesn't
should have.
show.
This should
I'm
have
sorry.
been. I'm sorry,
Oh,
too.
you're fine.
I should have. He should have already done these things
Okay,
while in the marriage, prior to the marriage.
okay.
He is just now, all of a sudden, pretending I'm going to be a daddy now. After I left him, he's all of a sudden, I'm going to get a driver's license now. All of a sudden, I'm going to go to therapy, even though my wife begged us to go to marriage
All right.
therapy.
Well, so even though your child is 2 years old. He's got a long ways ahead of him, right?
He does.
You're still saying that even though he's taking all these steps to show you that he's willing to change, that's still not enough for him to have unsupervised overnight visits.
Going to therapy and a change of heart are two different things.
Well, how do you know that he's got a change of heart? Do you not look at what the person is doing?
He speaks to my mother like she's a dog and says horrible things to her about me and still treats me the way that he does. He's still very controlling through his text messages. He's still gaslighting me. He even followed me to my job. He tried to follow me to work one morning, and he had no business being on the Mount Juliet exit at 5:30 a.m. He followed me.
This text messaging, it's majority of it is he's wanting to get visitations from Pearson. Would you not understand that that would be so frustrating to him?
Can you say
I
that
would
again?
object to that, Judge. I don't know what she could understand from his mindset.
Well, she talked about text messaging, and we do have text messages, and this is because he's trying to get visitation.
And he can testify to that, but she can't testify about his mindset. Sustain the objection.
Okay.
Obviously, he may be testifying on another day, but that would be his option.
Do you know what Main Streets, the company that did Brian's assessment and the programs, that was the company that facilitated. Do you know any of their qualifications?
Any of their qualifications?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Because you testified that you, to the effect that you do not accept their certification or any of Brian's accomplishments from that company.
No, because Brian knows exactly what he's doing. He's a very, very smart individual.
Okay, so even if it's not Main Street, even if it's John Hopkins or whatever, it's still not going to be acceptable to you. Is that right?
They would, I think a good counselor, a good psychiatrist would see straight through Brian.
Okay. So the person in Main Street who does all this, they can't see through Brian? Do you know their qualifications?
She's asking answered. She doesn't know the qualifications of Main Street.
Sustain.
He's a manipulator. He's very, very good at
Sustain the
it.
objection, ma'am. You don't need to answer it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, let me just look at my notes here. I should be done. That situation where all of you were taking a trip to New York and the child had a fever of 102 degrees and you were sick, you still went, right? You
Yes.
agreed to go.
I
Okay.
didn't agree to go. He made us go.
Okay. He made you go.
Yes, I
Okay.
did not want to go.
You didn't take the child to the doctor?
I did not because his fever was subsiding toward the end and toward the end, but it was still there. And I knew we didn't need to take him to the doctor because it was a sustained sickness. It didn't get worse.
Okay.
And I just kept giving him Tylenol and it was helping.
So was it subsiding before you got on the plane? Is that why you decided?
It was slightly subsiding.
Okay. How old was the Pearson then? Do you remember?
Well, it was in January, so that would have made him. I guess that would be 17 months.
17 months, okay. And then I'm just gonna ask you one last thing. You said earlier that he would pass out from drinking. Is that right?
Yes.
So when he gets drunk, he just passes out. Is that what happens to him?
Well, that was kind of a new occurrence towards the end. Because he was drinking and smoking at the same time, so he would just come home
So towards
in that
the
state.
end. Okay. Because you testified earlier it happened pretty much throughout your marriage. So now you're saying it's towards the end, the passing
I
out.
said that the passing out happened toward the end of marriage, but all the drinking, yes, he was drinking and smoking throughout the whole marriage.
Okay. Now that first recording where we heard Brian basically like talking to Pearson, you recall that one? He was like addressing Pearson, your daddy. You remember that? The one about where he spent so much money for the
Oh yeah, while he was
company.
drunk, yes, I remember that.
So he was drunk, very drunk is what I
Yes.
quoted here. I wrote down
He
your words
admitted to
here.
me he was very drunk.
Okay. In that recording, did he sounded like he was very drunk? Do
Yes.
you? Okay.
He's drunk.
And then your attorney introduced the check for $50. Is that for cleaning?
Yes, that's I do her once a month, so I've cleaned for her twice now.
Okay. Well, so I got your transactions, and I got several here, but it doesn't have an amount. So I'm gonna ask you if you can identify this, so we can calculate the.
Do you want me to come up there?
Yeah, hold on now.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have some that are in my folder that are highlighted.
Okay, I just want to know how much average in a month, how much do you make out of out of cleaning? Like this one here on the first page, you got summer, it's a picture of a house. I'm assuming that's house cleaning that you did for her, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then another one that July 25, and then floors, July 14. And then if you go over, you got August 24, that's a house, Bobby Ford. I'm sorry, next down, August 11, that's a house. And so how much do you usually earn a month is what I'm trying to get at.
I can give you an exact number if you'll let me get those, because these must have been screenshotted from Brian since because I'm private on there, but mine shows actual amounts of the
Okay.
transactions that were made.
Okay, so that check that you introduced along with your payroll check, that would not reflect your full monthly income, is that right?
That's part of my monthly
That's
income.
part of your monthly
Yes.
income. Okay, well, I can get it with from your attorney. And then the last thing is, has Brian been giving you financial support?
Yes, he started doing that at the end of August.
Okay, and how much has he been providing for you?
Again, I have that in my notes.
Okay, would
specific.
$200 a week or something like that, would that be accurate?
Not always, no.
Okay.
Again, I have actual screenshots on Venmo of all of the transactions that happened between him and,
Okay.
him,
But you're
Given me.
confirming that he has been giving you financial support?
some.
Okay. That's all, Your Honor.
You said you had hit Brian, or smacked Brian, I think, at one point.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Brian was very good about getting into my head. He would say things such as, if we ever got a divorce, I'm going to take your baby away from you because I make more money. The courts will grant me complete custody because I make more money. And naturally, as a mother, that infuriates me. And he would say things like that to make me lash out. There were times where he even cornered me and he would talk this close to my face to make me try to get him to get away from me. He followed me during these times and I said, you just need to get away from me. I'm trying to physically get away from you, and he would not allow me to walk away and just get out of the situation to where we could both calm down. But he wanted me to lash out after saying things such as I'm gonna take your baby away from you one day.
So you talked about anger. As far as the number one thing that you put out here, you said list 5, you list that number 1. The anger, as far as Brian's anger, and your issues with that, when he's angry, are you scared?
I'm terrified.
And he has physically abused you before.
Yes, and our animals.
Which animals did he abuse?
All of them. First we had a cat and a puppy. And then we had another cat and another dog, a puppy. He abused all of them, but he found favor in the second cat, so he wasn't as bad to the second cat, but to these animals he was extremely cruel. And our first cat, he got angry with it. It did have a nasty habit of chewing up phone cords. It just was a cord chewer. So I tried to pick up the cords and, not have that be an issue. Well, he ended up finding a cord one day and Brian lost his mind. He got that cord that he had chewed and he took the cat to one of the bathrooms. We had 2.5 bathrooms. So he took him to the spare bathroom up in the second bedroom and he started beating the cat. He beat the cat for 10 minutes with this cord. There was blood everywhere. I begged him to stop, and he didn't listen to me. And then I went back in there after 10 minutes of hearing this, and I said, you have got to stop. You're killing this cat. And he turned around, and his eyes were not his, and he went into our bedroom and completely destroyed it. And I went into the bedroom trying to calm him down, just stop, let's talk about this. And I had to physically jump out of the way of him flipping the bed. And I was jumping over broken glass. He broke 2 mirrors of mine, and the room was a horrific scene.
And this whole thing stemmed from a cat chewing on a cord.
This whole thing stemmed from the cat.
What kind of abuse about the dog?
The first puppy, he got it because he wanted a dog, and he said, I'll take care of it. Within 2 weeks, I was solely taking care of this dog. I was working 12-hour shifts, so it was crated for 12 hours a day, which I hated that. But as soon as I got home, I wanted to get her out. And there were times he said, I don't want to deal with her. He wouldn't let me take her out. And if she was just acting like a puppy and disobeying, he would kick her, he would punch her, he would just smack her. And then one day she ended up biting him back, and he punched her in the mouth and in the eye and tied her up to the jet ski thing outside. And I was coming home from work. It was the night before Thanksgiving. And I pulled in, and our dog is chained up to this thing, and she looks horrible. And I saw Brian's arm. She did bite him, but I knew better. I said, what did you do to her to make her bite you? And he said, oh, she went after a roll I was making. He was trying to pick it up, and he said that she bit him. I don't really believe that. She wasn't an aggressive animal. He probably provoked her.
You said he never finished the Timothy Hill program.
He did not.
Has he ever completed any sort that you know of helpful program?
No.
He's been in how many that you know of?
Just Timothy Hill. When he was young, he went to a lot of therapy. His aunt and uncle paid for a lot of therapy for him when he was younger, but I don't know of any other programs that he went through.
When you're talking about the insurance claim, Mr. Graman made you say that you were driving, correct?
Yes, he did.
And that's because he didn't have a license, correct?
Yes,
And it was fear of him getting into trouble for that, correct?
it was.
And he asked you to take the fall for that because he didn't want to get in trouble.
Yes, and my record is, forever tainted by that.
And you were scared not to do that?
Yeah.
You have an issue with Main Street basically because they don't, in their synopsis, say that there are no recommendations, correct?
Yes, he's not getting evaluated.
Your Honor, that's not in evidence at this point. I
I'll
haven't
withdraw the
entered-
question.
Well, I would sustain your question, but he's withdrawn. I would sustain your objection, but he's withdrawn the question.
You feel like if you go somewhere with a psychiatrist or psychologist, that a proper history needs to be given to that individual so that they can properly counsel Mr. Graman?
Yes, and it would have to not be just for a month or two. This needs to be a consistent thing. If he's truly wanting Pearson and to give him something good, he needs to be very consistent. But again, with everything that I've seen within the past 3 years of our marriage,
You said he
don't
followed
see-
you to your job.
he did. He followed me to my
When?
job.
When was that?
Sometime last month. I have it written in my
All right.
calendar. I wish I would have
That's
brought it
okay.
up
It
here
was
so I
last
had
month,
dates.
though. It was recent.
It's very recent, yes. I didn't let
Did he
him.
ever say what he wanted?
No. He acted like it didn't happen and I didn't address it. I just followed a police report on it.
The drinking and smoking where he's passing out, that's recent, correct?
Where he's passing out when we were living together, yes. Yes. Everyday occurrence for the past like 2-3
Mr. Holly,
months
I
that we
need
were
to
together.
take this. We'll be in a short recess.
Yes, sir.
Now, let's go back to Graman. Graman, I'd remind you again, you remain under oath.
And again, just to kind of pick up here, the drinking and smoking of marijuana to the point he passes out and can't watch Pearson is been recent, correct?
Yes.
And again, this is it fair to say this is kind of like a brief synopsis of some of the things that have gone on in the past? I mean, there's a lot of other stories and things of that nature, correct?
Yes.
And a lot more than just a couple hours would even cover, correct?
Yes, there are so many things.
You were cross-examined about, how he drank and how he reacted with Pearson and things of that nature. There was another episode that talks about that when you guys were at a place called Anarchista, correct?
Yes.
Tell the court about that.
Well, we went to Gatlinburg. It was supposed to be for my birthday in April for a trip. And there's a place called Anarchista that's there, and they take you up in a shuttle you up the mountain, and they've got a bunch of art and treetop adventure stuff, like rope courses. And once when we got up there, they had alcohol there, and Brian wanted to drink, and he started drinking, and he just continued drinking, and he ended up putting Pearson up on his shoulders, and I said, "You've been drinking. That's not a good idea to do that." He continued to keep him on his shoulders, and he decided to take him on a rope course, and it was an advanced one. It stated on the sign for ages 7 and up, and he was taking a not yet 2-year-old on it. I guess he was about 19 months old, maybe 20 months old at the time.
I mean, you paint the picture, you're walking on a rope.
Yes, like
And you're
you're
50, 60
walking on
feet.
multiple things that are attached to ropes, so it's all balance and coordination. It's difficult, and I'm a pretty coordinated individual. But he'd been drinking, and he had Pearson up on his shoulders, in which he did remove him from his shoulders as he's going on this. But the man who was kind of operating the thing and supervising over it said, "Hey, you cannot carry him on this."
You can't testify to what he said, okay?
Well,
Oh, okay.
the statement, hearsay, the definition of hearsay is the introduction of an out-of-court statement made to introduce for the purpose of proving the truth of the matter asserted therein. And that statement is the statement of the operator that restricted him from taking the child onto the rope. It's not, I mean, the truth of whether he should or should not or can or cannot take it is not an issue. Overrule the objection.
So you had an opportunity there to watch this guy, and he had an issue with Brian, correct?
Yes, because he's taking a young child on this rope course that's specifically meant for ages 7 and up.
And did you talk to Brian about that?
I was
Mr.
hollering
Brown,
at him, telling him, hey, like you shouldn't be taking him on that. And what he told me is he was going through it with Pearson struggling. My boy is advanced.
And he was intoxicated.
Yes. He
Was he
just kept
smoking?
saying, my boy is advanced. I know he was vaping, but I think that was nicotine. I don't know if he was smoking marijuana. He did lose his nicotine vape on that rope course, so some kid probably picked it up. But they ended up going through the entire thing, and it was to where there were random people that were passing by, and they were stopping because they were seeing what was going on. There was this great struggle, and I'm on the pavement melting, like, we need to get him out of here. And the person who was running it wanted him to come off, and he kept refusing. No, my little boy's advanced. I tried to go on the thing. There was an entrance and an exit. I tried to go through the exit. It was so difficult, I couldn't make it. And how they made it through that thing, I don't know. They ended up making it, but the fact that he disregarded everyone and myself saying, look, he's too little for this. And he did look scared at some points. Like it was all a balance thing, and he couldn't do that. And he did have to carry him. And that's something
Were you
that
worried for Pearson at that point?
I was terrified for Pearson at that point. I mean, if he fell, there's a rope to catch him. But if he lands on his neck, his little neck is broken. Or if Brian falls on top of him or another kid, there were kids just blowing past them. Because they didn't know what was going on. They're kids.
I've been on it.
Yeah.
The horrible recordings that we heard, the drinking and smoking, that's recent, though. That's your testimony today,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
That's a reason for your separation, correct?
Yes.
That's a reason for all your concern today. And you want Mr. Graham to try to get some help for some of these things, correct?
I wish he would.
And you feel like he needs professional help.
He does.
And are you scared of Pearson's safety while he's in the care of Mr. Graham because of the way he's been acting?
I am very scared. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if he was with him by himself.
That's all I got. That's all I have. Thank you, Judge.
Any recross?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
Thank you.
All right, we're 5 to 4, so we're going to be adjourning this case. I had indicated I had, for the cases that were behind you all, that I was going to offer them this Thursday at probably around 10 o'clock. So you can come back, and when we see where we are then, I can see whether or not I'll be able to pick you up.